All right, what's happening, fam? L.A.R. movement still moving. Book is entitled Lessons from a Non-Custodial Father at Amazon Kindle Create Space. The link will be in the description box below as usual. Topic is America's wealth consolidation. Um, I think some of y'all don't. This is how I look at things. When people are talking about the 1%, right? And over the last maybe decade, you increasingly you have increasingly seen that the richest become richer, and the gap between rich and poor widens and widens and widens. And the way I look at it, the most wealthy Americans are consolidating their wealth because with America's changing demographics and the internet and competition changing, and these guys older, their families are getting older, and things are starting to phase out into new directions because of technology. These richer American families have decided to pull back. You ran out of trade secrets to create to keep to to make money per se, because this is a new way to make money. So I think the top 1% said, well, you know what? Until we figure this out, we're gonna hoard all the money, and the rest we have to trickle some down, but it's all trickle down economics. Why I say that is this: the government. We talk about government and politics, but ultimately we say politicians are bought by corporations. These corporations are owned by the top whatever percent of people, right? You know, certain families, whether they be one major company or people working for the subsidiaries of these major companies. Now, they go to our politicians and they buy them, whether they're Democrat, Republican, Independent, Green, Tea, whatever, and they get their agenda pushed. And now, all of their agendas over the last 20 something years has this country $17 trillion in debt. So, who winds up paying for the richest, the wealthiest families' uh, screw ups and agendas to make money? Is the American people. Like, people talk about welfare, but pretty much everybody's going to be paying taxes because the wealthiest Americans bought the politicians who tanked the economy with all of their business practices and poor business practices, and now you got to, or we all have to pay for it. And ironically, who gets the biggest tax break for this? Those same wealthy people. That ain't welfare. I don't know what is. That's a bailout for you, right? Because in my opinion, the same dynamic has these wealthy people really buying um, the U.S. military to go set up shop in different countries for them to get cheap labor or cheap land, or to take over cheap land that helps their bottom line. Because when you think about all the products that are created outside of this country, but from companies that are really based in this country, when they're outside of the country, normally you could think of some type of military presence, some type of war, or some type of peacekeeping mission, or something where, around where some soldiers or some mercenaries or something got bought to clear the land out so they can get this stuff cheap or whatever. And now, what they paying people 5 cents a day for, you got to pay $100 a pop for, you know. So those are that's how wealth is being consolidated, right? Now on top of that, let's use like people on YouTube, like you got the YouTube quote unquote ad thing, right? Think about it. When you look at entertainment and music and all of that, they changed the way that the music is sold. So the record labels are, in some ways, are becoming obsolete because you're not getting these people's money hand to hand as much anymore. You got to get advertiser dollars. And if these advertisers got so many dollars, where do they get all this money from? Because they're advertising to us, the people, right? We're buying these products, but in some ways, American consumerism is not as big as it used to be because of all of the clamping down on money in the different policies and the cost of living rising, but salary, but pay not ever rising. So now all of a sudden, advertisers could look at, okay, how many streams you got? That's like a sale because from so many streams, you get paid so much. So that's just like a hand-to-hand album sale with music, right? And a lot of things are working in that same dynamic because now if you got all of these corporations and companies doling out money for you to advertise, you got to understand they're also doling out money to make sure you know who can advertise them the best. So don't think they're not rigging the game of who can we push up, who can we push down. That's why even with us black YouTubers, you can see that if you adjust yourself in certain ways, you rise faster. If you are more willing to not critique your own people, but throw your people under the bus, we throw you up. If you can just have conflict with your people on a regular basis, you're gonna get bumped up. It's not just controversy sells, controversy and negativity is promoted. It's one thing from it selling, it's another thing for it to be promoted to sell. That's two things. Like um, black controversy trends faster than just black excellence. So, and it stems from, to me, America's consolidation of wealth. Because all of these things we talking about sometimes, from the political point to the military aspect to, this this administration and what they're doing. And I just saw that, they're starting to give incentives for people to go into the military. What do you think? And he's a trust fund baby. So what do you think they're gonna give you incentives to go to the military for when the military on the precipice of all of this conflict? Who you think you fighting for? You know you ain't fighting for America's freedom. So you gotta ask yourself, what am I really here for? What would I join for? Why did they say recently women will be can be drafted also? Why? Just saying, like everybody got to fight these battles for rich people to get richer. While at the same time, you're gonna see these rich people's kids never go off. This is not the first time this has ever happened, right? Because those rich people's children who might be of age to go to war are gonna be needed to run these businesses after they die, right? So, in turn, you're dealing with people who want you to fight their battles that they created for you and let their kids reap the benefits of it while you and your family is broken. It's not only wealth in money, it's wealth in life. You know, so it's going to be a whole lot more unhealthy people than there are going to be healthy people. And to me, this all stems from the same thing. Like people, people seem to forget about Enron and was it Goldman Sachs? Who was the other one? AIG. The housing bubble, when the real estate bubble burst, right? You know, the recession. That really is not. We still really in a recession because to be perfectly honest, when the gas, what do they call the gas thing? When the gas prices kept going up, the gas shortage, so the prices went up. Even though there was a gas shortage when I think Carter was in office again, so It's like it was BS because it drove the prices up, and at that time, I remember Exxon Mobil always having record profits every year. But how you have a record profits in a shortage? You get what I'm saying? So, thus, if you look around for this country to have been in such a recession, you know, the government can't fix wasn't able to fix the roads and fix infrastructure, but there sure are a lot of apartment complexes being built, Walmart's being built, other businesses is popping up, uh, strip centers being built, neighborhoods being gentrified. Where did all this money come from, right? You know what I mean? Who can afford to keep doing all of this off the, you know, after in the precipice of even Obama's administration and Bush's with the country that's $17 trillion in debt. Now, mind you, there's a Chinese influx of people here who are buying things, who are trying to set up shop, but they're not owning all of these businesses. They're not. When they say 90 plus percent of America's wealth, whether it be in dollars or in land, is in Caucasian hands, and we talk about the one percenters, well, hardly anybody else is getting rich, don't you think? You know, thus these platforms that, internet platforms have in some way are monopolized. Because think about it, there's going to come a point where Amazon is going to be so big that who's going to need to go to Walmart? Because I see people all the time buying stuff that they could have got at the store because they got it online. And you see these retail businesses and malls closing. So if the businesses and the malls closing now, don't you think eventually the mall's going to close? So who's creating these platforms in the first place to close everything around you to get everything shipped to you? You feel me? Because once they control that, it's only going to be a few people, and it's probably the same type of few people that bought the politicians. That's just my opinion. I can go further, but I'm going to get out of here. Peace.